Hey everyone, it's Brett from Hope to Prosper, and I'm here in Pinnacles National Park. This is called Bear Gulch Reservoir, and I'm about to hike up to the High Peaks Trail, which is one of my little bucket listers. So anyways, this is my 24th National Park. Hope you enjoy the beautiful scenery, man. It's gorgeous up here. A little warm, but it's freaking awesome. Okay, thanks for coming along. I'll let you know what I have on my mind in just a minute. So today I want to talk about some retirement wisdom that I learned from an older couple that I met on the trail in Pinnacles National Park. I was about a third of the way through my hike, and I ran into them, and they were kind of struggling to make it down the mountain. The guy said he charged right up there, but when he started to come down, he was a taller guy, and he was having trouble with his balance and stuff like that. So going over the rock ledges and stuff like that, he was having trouble. So I said, hey, I'll just come on down with you. And so this was a pretty ambitious hike for a couple in their late 70s, too. And to be honest, I was surprised to see him that far up the rim trail. It was a struggle for me, and I'm almost 20 years younger. So I spent about an hour and a half helping him back down, and it just gave us a lot of time to talk. And they were very talkative, and they were full of adventures and wisdom. It was really an interesting thing. And so the lady, her name was Carolyn, she called me a trail angel. She said, thank God you came by and this and that, and they were out of water. I said, but I'm looking back and I'm thinking, I probably received the most from our meeting. I probably got the most out of it. The things I learned from them, I'm not going to forget. And it reinforces that I made the right choice by retiring early and spending my time on adventures, this precious time in my 60s, instead of chasing more money. And talking to this old couple and looking at them, it reminded me of my wife and I 20 years from now. It was kind of like looking into the future. So it was pretty interesting. Okay, so before we get started, I want to give a retirement shout out to one of my viewers, Steve Ortner. So Steve left me a comment about a week ago that he retired on May 16th after 41 years of working. So congratulations on your retirement, Steve. I hope you have a grand adventure in the years ahead. Just let me know if you need any crazy ideas for retirement. Okay, let's dig in and get started. First of all, a blessed life. So one of the first things that I remember this guy, Jerry, telling me was how they had such a blessed life. They were telling me about how they went to high school in L.A. and they met at 16 and they were high school sweethearts and they married at 19 and 20. Jerry told me he was so young he actually needed to get permission to get married. It was that long ago. She didn't need permission because she was a female, but because he was a male and he wasn't 21, he actually had to get permission. And they were nearing their 58th wedding anniversary, so I thought that was interesting. My wife and I were coming up on our 35th, and so, like I said, we're about 20 years behind them. But it was interesting the way they talked about their life. It was so cool. He had a little business, and they worked together, and whenever he got super busy, she would pitch in and work with him. And all the stuff they told me, it just seemed like they did everything together. And so that is a blessed life, in my opinion. And they had a life of adventures. They had been everywhere. We were talking about all the places we had gone and all the places we wanted to go. And like me, they've been to most of the states. They've been to most of the national parks. I think they said like 52 or 53, something like that. They've been to Hawaii. They've been to New Zealand. They've been everywhere. And they had a little Class C RV and a tow vehicle, and they just drove it around. And they kind of slow traveled around the country, which I thought was kind of fun. And the reason they were at Pinnacles, it was like a newer national park to them that they hadn't seen before. So they were all excited about it. And, they hiked at a lot of the places. He was telling me about when they went to Hawaii and they were at the Nepali coast and they had a pretty aggressive hike, and they said they had to scramble over a bunch of boulders and stuff, which at their age is pretty adventurous. But anyways, they were living a life of adventures and they were going for it. So anyways, it was like looking into the future. I was looking at this couple and I was thinking, man, that's me and my wife in 20 years. If we're lucky, And, they had some real health setbacks, just like any older couple. They had a lot of stuff happen to them, and they had overcome most of it, and they were still going strong. I mean, when he told me all the things that had happened to him, I was shocked that they were still out there hiking, but I think that's what was keeping them healthy. And, they knew their more aggressive hikes were coming to an end. She told me right away this is probably their last big hike that they were going to go for. So that was kind of sad, but like I said, I think this was keeping them young doing all this stuff. And it got me thinking about it. They're only 17 years older than me. And so it put in my mind that, hey, the clock is ticking. Anything I want to do right now, I need to get going and do it. This year I need to hike my 6-pack of peaks because I'm 60. I'll be 61 next month. And, I'm not going to be doing those when I'm 70. I'm not going to be doing 18-milers. So anyways, it was like looking into my future and seeing what was down the road for us. And I hope when I'm 77, I'm still doing a lot of the stuff I'm doing right now because I'm loving it. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Let's keep it short this week. The bottom line is that, life's just an opportunity for adventure. And if you're lucky enough to have a partner to share it with, then you are truly blessed. You have someone to live your life with and do your thing and go on your adventures. My wife and I, we loved this little vacation together. I got to go on my big hike and see my national park, and it was kind of boring for her because she had to sit around at a picnic table with our dog while, I went and burned 2 hours or 3 hours. But I decided so that the rest of the trip was for her and for us. So we spent the rest of the trip at the beach. And so it was just really a nice trip. It was a lot of fun, and it was very relaxing. And my wife, she can't do the big hikes anymore because of, having broken her leg. But we still have plenty of travel and adventure coming up, and we're going to find things that we can do together and enjoy our time together. Okay, thanks for coming along. Boy, it's some beautiful hiking. I didn't get to finish my hike for obvious reasons, but man, what I did see was beautiful. I'll definitely have to come back here and finish the High Peaks Trail. Okay, I wish you all health, happiness, and prosperity in your lives, and I will see you next week on our next big adventure. Next big adventure is going to be Monterey, Big Sur, and Morro Bay. All right, talk to you next week.